And we are live.
Great. Okay, so we're calling the meeting for today, October 27th, to order. And the first order of business would be to approve the meetings from the last meeting, the minutes from the last meeting.
I motion. I thought it was an excellent minutes, by the way, darling.
There's just a couple of clarifications.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so page one, what is it, the fourth paragraph down, front of an office building on Riverside Avenue, not Belden Avenue.
Okay.
So that's just a locational issue. Item number II on page 4. I think basically, I didn't necessarily suggest pin oaks. I think that we initially planned on either red or pin. So I don't think linden were ever the correct tree. I don't know if Paul followed up with that, but just a matter of they would.
Which one, Peter?
Page 4 of 8, double II 2.
Okay.
Vitorino suggested, I think basically corrected that they were either going to be red oak or.
I mean, you were amenable to either.
I was amenable to either, but I don't we ever had linden on the list. That's one. I think there was. And then just one more on page 7 of 8. Ms. Rito suggested pruning the trees in front of Waypoint. I don't know if we said pruning or limbing up. And the only reason I'd like to change to limbing up is because it's a different connotation than pruning. I think we're up against the odds about pruning. It sends the wrong message. We're limbing them up so we can see the store frontages and get them out of the people's clearances. And that's all the trouble I can make on those.
That would be good to change that. I agree.
Yeah.
Here's Cindy.
Hello, sorry I'm late. I had a little technical difficulty.
Just getting started.
Paul sent out a calendar with dates for 2021. It's in keeping with the fourth Tuesday of every month, still keeping 6 o'clock. So I don't see a problem with that. Is everybody good with those dates and times?
Yeah, so we're going to approve the minutes with those corrections,
With
correct?
those corrections, yes.
And we also have to go back to the first page too. Erica, item number 2.
Right, no, I know, I didn't skip it. I skipped it on purpose because I wanted to make sure that we had the minutes approved before we went on to any business. And so we have the calendar and the minutes with those amendments approved. And Paul circulated amongst us a letter from Senator Blumenthal. Do you want to tell us about that?
Okay, Senator Blumenthal had sent a letter to Mayor Rilling dated September 10th. And basically saying it was his honor to congratulate the city for earning the Tree City USA recognition for 2019. And basically Norwalk was one of the 16 communities in Connecticut to merit the accomplishment. And he had said right now he respected the fact that we were the longest active growth award winner in the state.
Great.
Somebody on his staff is doing a good job.
That's good.
It was a nice letter. Could we frame it, Paul?
Yeah, we get the original, Chris, I think you guys have the original, right?
Yes.
If you just send it to us, yeah, we can.
Yeah, I'd like a copy also that we can send or give to the Norwalk Tree Alliance because they're the city's partner on this program.
Yes.
Paul, while you have the floor and are talking about the Senator Blumenthal letter, it it goes with, along with, I think, the Arbor Day celebration and the Tree City for this next year. So you want to just kind of sum it up?
Okay, basically, just want to let everybody know that we're starting to prepare the package of information for the Tree City USA. It's due January 15th. We got to submit all of the information, and we're taking a look at a couple of the projects. One of the ones that we might look at doing for the Growth Award this year is probably the tree planting program, because it has expanded with the extra money that the Common Council gave us this past fiscal year, and the additional trees we're going to be able to do with it. That would be one of the items. We'd probably like to do something with the tree school and the information related to that, officially use that for Tree City for the Growth Award. And anybody has anything else that they'd like to use, please send me the information and we can include it in the application.
I'll send it to you. I'll send you stuff from the Tree Alliance, including planting the, what people are calling the COVID tree. It was done in Memorial.
Good, that would be good,
On the
yes.
green, and the mayor was there and so on. I also have, you also like photo documentation, do you not? To
That would
send
be good
off?
because I can attach it to the application, yes. It's all digital, so we can just download information to the platform and it works out well.
We're also photographing recipients of trees for the Tree Alliance, and I think we should do the same thing for the city's tree thing, because that could all go on social media, and you'll be seeing that for the Tree Alliance. But I know, Erica, we can talk about that later, Erica, when you wanted to get promotion for the tree program that the city is doing, especially in the current environment that we'll talk about later.
Perfect, thank you.
And then as far as the Arbor Day celebration, if they're willing to do it in whatever platform we end up using, whether it's virtual, we could still talk again with Cranberry Elementary School for 2021, since they were selected and began the planning for 2020, but it all had to be canceled because of the pandemic.
If we're not able to do something with them in person like we did the year before at Greenville School, can we still go ahead and plant trees there and show the Arbor Day Foundation that we're still committed to planting trees, even though we can't have the program surrounding the tree planting?
I asked if I could do that last year, actually, if we could just go plant a tree. And the principal, with everything going on at that point in time, had a problem with us doing that or coming onto the property. But that might change now with everything that's changed in a year. So we may be able to do that at the bare minimum.
Okay.
When we're renewing for Tree City USA, I know it's it's almost like double dipping, but can we also say that NCC got it accredited as Tree Campus USA, even though it's the same foundation does both? But so we proud of having them.
I mean, we can just mention it in there.
Couldn't hurt.
I don't think it could hurt at all. Do you see the hat I'm wearing?
Yeah, I noticed that.
I want one.
I want one too.
But
I'm going
part
to
of
ask
the-
them for more.
But part of the point is Erica's recruited Rich and me from the Tree Advisory Committee to be on her board at NCC. So there's a strong linkage there. I don't know if that's important or not. We'll write it up and send you something, Paul. It'll look great.
And NCC is applying for Tree Campus USA again. And Rich sent me a couple of pictures of the trees that were planted for Arbor Day, even though we didn't have a celebration, to show that we're still trying to, do something to recognize it. Okay, all right, great. Any update with the tree planting program, and any update with that signed paperwork for that one location?
Okay. We have basically a variety of locations right now that we're doing this year with the orders that we've already placed. This fall will be the largest order that we've ever placed in a spring or fall cycle. We've got 49 trees right now that we're looking to plant and have ordered, and I may end up having a few more possibly in the next week or so. So, and I can go down that. But to start with Woodward Avenue, Rich, I'll let you take that one. And that one's kind of fallen off the board right now because of the issues, and I'll let you explain it.
Woodward, we went out, well, Paul and I went out and marked the trees and identified the utilities. I spoke with the owner, didn't attend the meeting, but we spoke with him on the cell phone with his property manager. He asked us to stake the trees, look for him to view it. We did that. Eversource took some trees down, but then they left 2 trees. And then after Eversource did their work, those 2 trees were removed. I don't believe by Eversource, I think by the property owner. We actually staked around those trees, keeping 32-foot on center spacing. So those trees got removed. The property is owned by a partnership, a group of people, and they couldn't come to an agreement for establishing a tree planting program along the frontage of the property, which is a shame because it's a large frontage. But I told them that we can't plant on private property without the agreement, sending the city contractor in there. And I followed up twice with them and I haven't gotten any response back. So I'm thinking they're not interested with planting trees, whether they're free or through the city or anything. They just don't want trees in the front of the property. I think they think it looks better with no trees. So I've kind of given up on them. Last message I left, I said, if you change your mind, we'd be happy to revisit this in the spring because it would make such an impact along Woodward Avenue. And it leads up to Woodward Park, which we've done a great job on. So the door,
And the package.
but put a lot of time and effort into that one site and the group of owners and the property manager. So if they do change their mind, I'd be more than happy to go out there and restake it for spring planting of 21.
And there were 2 other lots along Woodward Avenue in that area. And between the 3 lots, there was a total from the plan that Peter put together, it was a total of 24 trees. And without the trees on 151 Woodward, there's only 7 others. So this was a major portion of that. And without that, the rest of the plan could still be executed. But this portion at 151 Woodward, we can't do without the ownership agreements.
Yeah, it's all private property. Where we
Do you want that plan changed, Paul, for a letter to go with them? I mean, if you're gonna follow up, is that of any use?
What do you think, Rich? You were making contact with the people. What is your thought?
It's worth a shot. I mean, I really kind of like, exhausted the amount of time and energy to put into that property. And I'm hoping that they've reached back to me. I wouldn't mind touching base with them one more time in the spring, just to kind of take their temperature and see if they've changed their mind or if they have a different opinion about planting on the property. I don't know if it's really worth redesigning the whole thing if we can't get any buy-in.
Well, it's just a graphic image to promote the.
If you want to do it and it doesn't take you much time, go right ahead.
Annotate what I just
Next
sent.
spring, but I would.
Yeah, well, annotate what I sent you because I'm not gonna remember. It might take me till next spring to get there.
Well, then put it on the to-do list now and we get it in spring. I'll utilize it come spring planting.
I did update the number of trees inside Woodward Park and it's more than I had remembered.
Okay.
Yeah, Woodward.
What would be good to know though, moving forward, is which of the tree species do the best in that quasi brackish environment. Because right now you've got red maple, linden, locust, and you got swamp whites out there now too, which I thought might be a great thing.
The swamp whites are relatively new, but so far, knock on wood, they seem to be doing okay. The red oaks,
I mean, they like wet feet. We'll see if they like brackish wet feet.
yeah, they didn't. The other oaks didn't like it. We tried them and they all failed. The locusts seem not to mind. Red maples seem to be doing okay. The lindens out of the all the ones there, probably the weakest, I'd say. And it's gotten flooded several times since we've planted, so we'll see what happens moving forward.
It'd be good just to know what does best for future reference as well, because it's quite a collection to sort of look at the species and how they do.
Yeah. Just over the last 3 years, monitoring it since we've worked there, the honey locusts seem to be real happy down there, but that's just my personal take on it so far, but things are subject to change.
Well, on the other properties, the Zelkovas have been holding well, evidently.
Yeah.
Okay, and Belden and West Avenue, some of those trees, there was 10 of them that were ordered in the spring. 6 of them got planted. Gary is gonna be planting the rest of those in the next week or two. So I talked to him again about that today, so those will be done. 2 Monroe Street, we were waiting until we had the trees in and we have those ordered. Gary will get those and then Highway will remove the 2 at the police station. It's in that plaza area, so we did not want to cut those until we were ready to plant. So it'll be a smooth transition and there won't be holes there for a week or two because I don't want that, especially in the front of the police station. So those are going to be taken care of. And then East Norwalk, we had 9 trees that Andrew took care of, and I'll let Andrew go into that.
Well, I don't know what to say. I forget the actual trees. It was so long ago that I spec'd them out. Can you remind me on that?
Okay.
I basically focused on 2 areas, Marvin Beach and East Norwalk. And
We had-
takers.
In the area East Norwalk, we had 11 trees. There were some of them on 4th Street, 1 on Calf Pasture. There were 2 on Calf Pasture. The 39 First Street, there's 2 of those that are going in there. 10
Winfield.
Cabaret Road, and then 51 Winfield Street for a total of 11 trees. We ended up with there.
Okay.
So those are set. And then Marvin Beach, there was a combination of some of the ones that Andrew had. Fran Hoyt had come to me with, and I looked around with those with her, and we staked out 18 trees there. So that's already been sent to Gary for planting.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt, but what's the relationship or who is Fran Hoyt? Or how did you?
Fran Hoyt lived over on Alden, and she was friends and knew John and Lucy Janetian. So she had, not that she was going to be the liaison in that area, but she was kind of helping out in the transition to the new liaison from John and Lucy, now that both of them have passed away.
Did you get those trees on River Road?
Some of them,
Okay.
some of them.
Okay.
There's one of them that we're not going to be able to do right now.
Okay.
So that's those. West Norwalk was Cindy.
I unfortunately did not hear back from a single person. Even the 2 people that we spoke to on Ponus Avenue that were really, really interested. I was going to reach back out to them, and unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, my business has just been crazy with a lot of things still closed across the country, and I didn't make it back over there.
Okay. Should we, is there anything that we'll have in the next week or so, or should we push that to the spring?
If you're still ordering, I'll make sure I make time this week.
Okay, I can put an order in for about another week roughly.
Okay.
Paul, how many trees do we have for the fall? You said that we had more than we've ever had in other sites. I know we had targeted, I think
Yeah,
we had
let me go through
targeted,
the rest of the list, Andrew, and I'll cap it all off for you.
because I know we had targeted just over 40 that we wanted to do. It sounds like we're going to be over that.
But
We
just go back to Ponus, West Norwalk. There are several trees that came out in front of the school there, Fox Run. They've been hit by cars. I mean, there's a couple of gaps. We put them in a decade ago, probably. But, if we have a couple spaces, that's not a terrible spot because the curve is missing trees.
Okay, we can look at that.
So if you can't block
Cindy,
anybody down, Cindy, we got Ponus School, Fox Run School.
I also think that a few people who were responding on the Nextdoor site. Two people private messaged me that they were interested in having trees and willing to take care of them. And they were in the West Norwalk area, so I can share that with you, Cindy, as well.
Please.
Great.
Over on Highland Avenue, Rob had a couple that he had asked me to take a look at because there were some issues with some of the trees that have been taken out over at the community center. And then there were some other locations, one on Witch Lane and one at 86 Highland Avenue, two at 86 Highland Avenue, actually. And those trees that were there, the trees were removed that had to be taken out. So they were ready for planting. I know you had asked about that, Rich. So there's 9 trees there. Then Alan Broadbent had asked about some trees over on Echo Lane. And I looked at it and it's gonna work out well. There's 8 trees that we'll be planting over there. That order's been placed. And it's a variety of sites. And it's like 1 here on 1 lot, 2 on another lot, 1 going around a cul-de-sac and down out toward the main road. So that's gonna work out good. And those have all been ordered and staked. And then I had 2 up on Murray Street also, as well as 1 other one at another location on Fordham Drive. So several of those have come together, and that's another, actually, that ended up being 3 trees instead of 2. So all together, and I can kind of summarize it right now with what we've got. We had planted 6 of the 17 trees that we had ordered in the spring. And then we got 49 that we just ordered for a total of 56 trees that we will have planted this year. And this fall planting is 49 trees right now, unless we get any more. And it's the largest one we've ever done in the fall.
Good work.
So,
Good work.
one of the things that I can
Accommodate. How
say that.
budget accommodate?
All right, that's the next thing I was gonna touch base on is the budget right now. With what we had left over from the remaining balance after the spring plantings were done and paid for, and the 65,000 that we received as of July 1st in the fiscal year 2021 budget, we ended up with a starting budget of 67. We will have, plus with the 2,000 that we talked about, and we ordered 45,450 worth of trees. It'll leave us a budget of 21,863 for the spring unless we add any more, which is about 1/3 of the budget. And our goal was to try and do 2/3 now, 1/3 then, so we're in good shape with our goal. A little more on the trees that we wanted, but budget-wise, we'll be in good shape.
No, sounds like we're right where we should be.
And even if we do another 2 or 3 trees, we'll still have about $20,000 out of the 65,000 fiscal year. And it works out good because what I want to be able to do is now that the capital budget cycle is starting, and when we do our meetings with finance in January, we can show that we've spent 2/3 of that $65,000 when we start doing our meetings.
Yep.
And that's about it for the plantings, unless anybody else has anything else.
Good work.
Tree maintenance update.
Okay, we've got some news there too. Gary was in touch with me and he's gone around to several of the locations that we had done tree work. And he's also replaced the mulch and items and areas that we had, just to give you an idea, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 16 of our locations on the list. He went where they were doing watering back in the end of September. They went and replaced and redid the mulch in all of those areas too. So I'm satisfied with what he's done with those. And unless anybody else has anything else, I can go on to the next part of that.
Go for it.
Okay. I got an email from Gary related to Fodor Farm and the proposal for amending the soil for the 2 oaks. And what he would do is basically said that he would provide food for the soil and trees through the spring of 21. And I can give you, one of them is in the fall, operation would involve air spading and bringing new organic material into the soil area. And then in the spring would be liquid fertilization to boost the bioactivity and directly feed the trees during the spring uptake. And what he did is he gave me a proposal for the work area, and I can get into more detail if you want it, but the fall cost of the vertical mulching would be $1,485, and then the spring application of the 100 gallons of nourishment and biostimulant would cost $250.
So what do we think the issue is with the trees? They're just bad soil or something else?
Yes,
What-
Gary
what-
did
what are we
tests
treating?
out there.
Yeah.
Gary had done tests out there and said there were issues with the surrounding soil and the quality of the soil.
So the vertical mulching adds compost in the soil matrix.
I can tell you,
Yeah.
basically, he would perform the vertical mulching on a 2x2 grid pattern across the entire bed area for the 2 trees, between the sidewalk and the street retaining wall, and between the driveway and the utility pole, attempting to achieve 18 to 24-inch depths with the air spade and backfill the yard holes with 4 yards of compost and 100 pounds of biochar and 100 pounds of Rizzo Science Amendment.
I mean, Rich, is there any reason to do a growth retardant as well? Promote root growth?
I'm not a big fan of growth retardants. I don't like them, to be honest with you.
I just don't know if that's an application. Other places I've worked or have tried to save trees, we've considered and used growth retardants.
Yeah, I've seen it used on, for construction damage. It basically tries to adjust the root to shoot ratio so the root system can support the crown, and it slows down the twig and leaf elongation.
It stunts the root, it stunts the tree canopy growth so the roots can go
Right.
at a faster rate. Counterintuitive, but it actually sometimes works.
Yeah,
We're using it on a very large ginkgo, 72-inch caliper.
yeah, a lot of times it distorts the look of the tree too. That's why I don't really like it.
We don't want to lose the ginkgo, so we're trying it.
Yeah. And then once it's
So-
in, I think it's active for 7 years or something. So it's not something you can go and change.
Okay, so that's something we'd have to make a decision on, and if the committee wanted to do that in the 2 phases, we would take the money out of that remaining 21,863.
When would he want to do the vertical mulching?
That's a fall. He would
That's
do
an
that. He would be doing that now. If we approved it, he would go do it in the next few weeks, and then the other one would be in the spring.
Yeah,
Oh,
I haven't
it's
looked at those oak trees in a month or two. Andrew, have you looked at them?
I think the second one we planted is doing okay. That the one that we were concerned about still looks, I don't think it's gonna work out. A lot of limbs are not working. Yeah, take a look at it. I also wonder, Paul, if some of this budget could be paid for by recreation and parks, because Fodor Farm is part of the city park system. I know
I'd have to request that. I don't know if they would or not, but I would have to check with Nick Roberts.
well, I don't know where he is on his budget, but it's worth a question, because
Yeah.
it really is part of the park system and covered under his budget. So I don't know what he, I mean.
Well, I think before we approach,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
before we approach them, Parks and Rec, we need to decide whether or not we even want to undertake this, and whether or not we're throwing good money into a bad tree. And
Well, Rich, I defer to you on that. Because you.
Well,
you
my,
and I-
my take on it is to replace that tree and not put
that's-
in.
I mean,
And
that-
I think that's what we agreed, and
Now we're looking at it.
Gary's been wanting to save that tree, and if he wants to invest in the tree, that's something else. But to ask us to invest in a tree that we had already decided as a committee to have it replaced under the extra insurance that the Tree Alliance paid for that was a decision. So I don't
Well,
want to.
that's
But
our,
one of the-
call. We have, then we have to tell them, I think maybe now is the time to say, we reviewed the recommendations. We opted not to go that course. And we wanted the tree replaced last spring, so we're gonna say replace it for this upcoming spring. He's got to start looking now.
And if
And I
they do,
think
and if they do replace it, there's an opportunity to amend the soil when that new tree goes in.
Well,
Is that correct?
that's what he's saying. The soil, if he put a new tree in now, the soil is bad. He wants to amend the soil so that when he puts the new tree in, it will survive. That's what he's thinking about doing. So he plans on replacing the tree, but he doesn't want to have to keep replacing it in
Oh.
soil, but it's not going to work.
Oh, okay. So I didn't understand that. I understood that he wanted to save the trees and amend the soil for that purpose.
No,
So amend the soil when he puts the new tree in,
That's what I think we should do.
put the effort into that. I haven't seen the tree, but again, I defer to you and Andrew, Rich, because I don't know
I
what it
think
looks
it'd be
like.
easier to amend the soil when you have an open tree pit.
Oh,
versus
yeah.
in the
Yeah.
other-
yeah.
I mean, our pit detail says 5 foot open square, right? That's 25 square feet of 3 foot deep.
All right, then I will tell him that we don't want to do this now. We want to amend the soil when he puts the new tree in. Now, if he asks about a cost share on the amendment of the soil at that point in time, what do we want to do?
It's 2.7 yards of soil in our detailed tree pit. And it's a material cost for him, perhaps?
I think we could probably get it for less than the
$1,000.
$1,700.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
all right, I'll
we
ask.
can work with him on the material change. I mean, it's
Yeah.
material.
Okay, I'll
It's
work
better
with him
than
on that, but tell him we want to replace the tree in the spring and amend the soil at that point in time.
And we want to replace it early in the season. Because last
Well, yeah,
time,
I want him to, he's supposed to be looking for those now so that he
Yeah.
can replace those in April.
that's what happened last year and it got pushed back.
Okay, that's the information on the update for the maintenance by section of the city.
You guys, is Erica muted?
So the next item up is a promotional information. I don't know if I'd necessarily say it's promotion of the tree planting program. It's more promotion of the committee as a whole. I started an email exchange with IT for the city, for example, asking if they could update our website a little bit, maybe include some photographs of tree plantings, maybe include a little bio for each of us, and just some additional information. The folks who were posting on the Cranberry site, some of them did find our website. Some of them posted that, our names are there, our meeting minutes are there. And it would just be nice if when they went to that link, they saw something a little more representational of what it is that we do.
Well, Paul has been assembling for some time now a map with indications of where we've planted trees over the years. And Paul, I think that should be made into a comprehensive map of the city of Norwalk showing, I did that for the Tree Alliance for our planning for third taxing district. And there's a large map that you provided that that's in the third taxing district's conference room. It's huge. And we put stars and highlighted them on all the trees that we planted over the years. And it looks pretty impressive, a gray map with a lot of green dots. And and I think that should definitely be.
That's on our GIS now, and we can go right to the city website and pull it up.
Okay. It exists on the city website?
You
and where
can
the
get-
trees are?
It's in our GIS, and you can go to it and get to it.
Okay,
So we can put a link like Erica's talking about to get us to that.
great.
That would be awesome. So then we can just have Larry put a link, and then that'll be wonderful as well.
We could do the same thing for the Arbor Day trees. We planted trees in a lot of schools over the years. And I think that's always good publicity to show that we have tree activities at schools and planting trees each time we do it. It'd be another nice program to highlight.
I think whenever you see the photos of people like actually putting trees in or hands on, which I know is difficult with the COVID right now, but that really gets people's interest instead of just a list of minutes and agendas and stuff.
Well, I'll send you some
I agree.
I'll send you some photographs of trees that we planted for third taxing district in East Norwalk last week. And it's great. It shows pictures of people standing in front of their tree with big smiles on their faces and
Yeah,
whole families out there and all the rest of it. I'll send those out to you so you can see the quality of that. And we could restage that for the fall tree planting and get people out there. I have a list of the people I work with. So if you want to do that.
Erica, you and I can work, then we'll work with IT to put something together, and
That'd be great. That would be great. I also worked with Josh a little bit, kind of brainstorming with him. And he is going to, I asked him if he could increase our presence on social media. And so one of the things that I think would be great is that we do these fantastic things, like we already have like 49 plus trees slated to go in by November 15th. And then we're going to have another number of X trees in the spring. And just things like this would be nice to get out to the public. And I really think if more people knew about us and what we did, you know, something like the exchange on Cranberry on the next door site was really eye-opening. I was actually glad it happened in some ways because it made the opportunity for us to let people who are active in our community know that we exist and where to go to get the information instead of, you know, venting online, to also have an outlet for that. And we've gotten 4 or 5 tree liaisons from that exchange as well.
Right.
You know, in similar lines, I've talked about it 100 times. I'm never going to get there, but again, Chicago used to put tags on the trees when they put them in, said who sponsored them and what trees do. Kind of like a big, you know, a laminated tag, and it stays there for a couple months and you take it off. But they're quite visible. And if you had those tags on these 49 trees going in on the street, you know, it says who we are. I don't know who can pull that graphic together? I'm never going to get there. How about that young man? Can he do it? And I'm sorry, I no longer have that photograph, but it's like a big, you know, it's like a big manila tag.
I think that's a great idea. One of the things that, you know, being humble is one thing, but, you know, also being your own cheerleader is really important.
Paul, is it possible when Gary and his team to go out and plant the trees for this fall, that somebody tags along and takes photographs? I'm happy to go out part of the time and do it, and you know, and get the homeowners out there and take a photograph of the trees going in.
I mean, if you can, I can feed you the information when they're going to be doing them, because Gary usually lets me know. The only thing is right now, it's just manpower wise, we're so shorthanded. We don't have an intern right now that I can say, hey, go do this. But yeah, we can try and work.
Well, I try to
together
do it.
coordinate.
Yeah, I got a new iPhone, so I want to try the camera out.
Yeah.
Andrew, I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we can then work with Josh and say, look, these are some homeowners who are sponsoring, accepted these trees from the committee and yada, yada, and get some publicity out that way.
That's
I'm
easily
sure If
done.
we asked Gary to take the photos, he'd be more than happy to do it and share some with
I
us.
can do that too. I can ask them. And then even if we don't do every single one, what we could do is do a few of them and take some samples and then use those samples for the representation of the whole program.
Well, you don't want 49 photographs, but
No, exactly, yeah.
if you have 6 or 8 photographs, and if I'm around, I'll get the homeowners out. Gary's not going to do that, and that, it's again. I'm going to tomorrow. I'll send you guys photographs that we did from the Tree Alliance, and they're really happy pictures. I send them to 3rd Taxing District, and they love them. So spreading goodwill all around. Okay.
Great. Okay. Andrew, you're up with
Oh.
NTA activities.
Yeah, NTA. Last Thursday, the Norwalk Tree Alliance had its annual meeting, and we had the annual meeting on a terrace, a stone terrace, and it was kind of confusing because we cobbled together an actual meeting. Everybody was sitting 6 feet apart with masks, and we also had a Zoom meeting, so it was a little incongruous. But what we did was elected a new board. And when I say elected a new board, we always have people, it's sort of staggered. And so I got about 4 or 5 new people on it. I'm really pleased to say, when I helped resurrect the Tree Alliance a few years ago, we all laughed and said it was an old person's club. And I'm pleased to say that all the new people are millennials in that area. So I think it's great. Some of the old guard, Rich and me particularly, are no longer on the board. But I feel pretty good about the people that are there in terms of their enthusiasm and some of their experience and professions that I think will work well. So that was an important piece of business.
To Andrew's point, I just want to mention one thing that's been, just what he said has been a goal of the Tree Advisory Committee and the Alliance for many years, was to try and get more people involved and to try and get the kids and younger people involved. And that's actually finally come to fruition with Andrew's guidance as the president. When he was the president, there's been a lot of influx of younger people and the kids getting involved. So after an effort that took many years to get underway and finally accomplish, it's finally gotten to that point where it's paid off and it's coming to fruition.
And we did a review of the last year in terms of events and programs and progress and problems. And I guess just in sum, while I was disappointed that we didn't do as much on programs that I would have liked, it was a difficult year because of the pandemic. So a lot of the focus was on what I call process. The new president, Alan Broadbent, felt that we really needed to tighten up the governance. And one of the first things he did was, and working with the secretary, who we're now calling clerk, which is appropriate, I suppose, politically appropriate, was to set up all our records digitally using a Google system. So everything's in digitized. So that's good. In addition, Alan felt that we should redo the bylaws. According to the bylaws, we have to have actual meetings. So there wasn't even a provision to have Zoom meetings. So we changed several things to update it. And some things were, I think, were a little, Paul and I feel were a little unnecessary. but others in the board felt it was important. Anti-discrimination clauses and things like that. So the bylaws were revised and that was passed. So that was, I guess, the overall thrust of the annual meeting, in addition to realigning some of the committee structure that we had last year, which was a little cumbersome and not specific to the actual work that was being done. So as I say, a lot of the focus was on what I say process and procedures, and hopefully in the year ahead and the years ahead, it'll be more on program development, getting back to Tree School, which is our signature program, and expanding the tree planting programs. In addition to third taxing district, which I will continue to manage, even though I'm not on the board. We have 6 taxing district in Rowayton, and the board is committed to other tree programs as well, mostly focusing on trees, that are specific to New England. That's it.
Is there any other business anyone wanted to discuss?
Let's try to stay out of trouble. Mr. Chris, can we get limbing up trees on the schedule for the spring, spring? On Wall Street, West Avenue, Washington?
That's a good question, and I wanted to speak up before. I wouldn't anticipate getting any money from parks.
No,
They're way down.
These are street trees.
Everything-
These would be DPW, I suspect. Limbing up for the street trees on Wall, West Avenue, Washington.
We will help out any way we can. Like, we usually put our money that we don't spend in removals and pruning. We'll buy equipment, and Paul will take some of that money for tree planting. But we'll have a better view on that in the spring.
Because if not, we might need to reallocate some of the planting money, Paul. Just because to make the program work, we're at a point now where if we limb up, we can help kind of combat this tree meatballing. That's the way I feel.
One of the things we want to do on Wall Street, and I know I've mentioned it several times, there are a couple of projects going on down there in the next year or so. So
Well,
we've got to be careful.
it'd be
I just
West
don't
Wall.
want, I don't want to end up spending money on something for a tree that may end up having to be relocated anyway because of the projects.
No, it's this side of the street that's going on. It's not East Wall where we know this worked. And certainly West Avenue, those trees are pretty heavy canopy. So, it's kind of about management moving forward. And, I don't know how we manage. I don't know where the funds come from. Because I know the Wall Street Neighborhood Association here is really quite active these days. Nancy's working very hard to keep focus on the streetscape. So just
I
showing
did
that-
Washington last year and I went by and Washington's probably ready to be done again, so.
Okay. The lindens, the Redmond American lindens are set
Yeah,
now?
they're really coming along nice.
Yeah, they are. They are.
I'll do it again if nobody minds.
I mean,
Okay.
Peter, can you get
that'll-
Jason to donate some trees to the West Avenue, Wall Street corridor?
can I get who?
Jason Milligan?
I got him, I think I've got him to put trees in front of the People's Bank. He's agreed verbally to plant the frontage opposite the post office to balance what we're doing there.
That's good.
Okay, that's good.
So we'll see. He said yes, but perhaps he doesn't usually go back.
One
They
thing
want-
about it-
they really want more trees on the middle of the street here, but I don't, that's big capital investiture. That's opening the sidewalk. Goodness knows we open the sidewalk enough for utilities. Perhaps one of these days I'm going to bring my lecture on green systems to the NTA board here. The one I gave the UConn students.
Erica, were you talking about business? Erica, were you going to address what program initiatives you want to take with respect to the tree liaison officers?
Sure. So I have the woman that I think Nancy Lovas that you recruited. Paul sent me a few names. I would like to include Fran Hoyt. Maybe she decided that she has some time, and a few people who expressed interest on the Nextdoor site. We have probably, I would say, about 8 people in total. And what I would like to do is draft an email where I include all of the potential liaisons on the email, explain to them what the expectations are, a little bit about us, attending the meetings if they want to. And that, explaining that they're going to be the boots on ground and kind of empowering people who are clearly concerned about tree cover in Norwalk already.
Well, excuse me, Paul, didn't we talk about this at some point? And you said that there had been a description on what the roles and responsibilities are of a tree.
Yeah, about
Erica?
10 or 12 years ago, we had training sessions for the tree liaisons too. So what we could do is when they come in and we get a group of them, like 5 or 6 of them, we can run one of the training classes where we show them what the roles, the responsibilities are, what to look for staking, the different things and aspects as part of the roles to actually go out and stake the trees. So we can do one of those programs if we are allowed to at some point with the COVID, or we can do it outside with just a group of people in a field so that we're respecting the social distancing guidelines if we wanted to do it like next spring. But that's something that can definitely be done, and we have some of that information already.
I think it'd be nice for the committee to meet with the tree liaison, not in a formal meeting like these these Tuesday meeting, but in a more informal way. And by the way, Erica, I put together an outline of the roles and responsibilities for the Tree Advisory Committee. Have you seen that? I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I don't know if I've seen it, but it sounds like something that should be on our website.
Well, I don't know if it's, I think I put it, it's pretty straightforward. You'd have to review it, but there's a lot of content in there.
We got to be
Paul, can you
careful
send it
too with
to Erica?
what we put on the website has to match what's in the city ordinance too, chapter 112.
But Eric, if first thing, Paul, if you could, I don't know if I have it anymore, but could you probably have it. You're better at that than I am. Could you send that to Erica so she has?
I'd have to dig it out. Yes.
Okay, I'll look to it.
May have to be reviewed because remember when the attorney came to our meeting?
Yeah.
Yes.
We have to make sure that it states that we were an advisory committee.
Right.
Yes.
You don't get sucked into a lawsuit or named
Yes.
as, a liable party in a lawsuit.
That's why we got to be careful what we put on the website.
I'm not interested in rewriting what the city has already written in terms of what our mission is. I think my goal is to get these people involved so that they can be our eyes on the ground and let us know where potential plantings can go. I don't know, it sounds like you're suggesting we teach these people how to stake out the sites. I don't know if that's, yeah.
What to look for. Looking as you're driving down the street and you want to see if a site is going to be a good potential. Are there overhead wires there? Is it something, is it an open space? Are there just small snow shelves? You don't want to put them in the 2-foot wide snow shelf, 3-foot wide snow shelf, because it's not good for the trees. So those kinds of things to look for that the average person might not know or think of to look for.
Okay,
Well,
we can
I think
pick
the
a
other
few
part of it,
points.
the other part of it is to work with your neighbors. Put together a plan with your neighbors. I mean, that's what Nancy did. She perceived that her street was getting torn up and that roots were going to be impacted and so on. And so she put together, she got together with her neighbors and said, let's plant some trees here. This is the opportunity.
But you do want to keep it fairly simple. I mean,
Thank
simple.
you. Yes, I
But
agree,
what-
Peter,
People are not going to read more than one page.
at all, bullet
Do not
points.
click on the
And
second
that's,
bullet point.
and I don't want to scare people by thinking that we're expecting them to know about, street setbacks and curbs and all
No,
kinds
no,
of things. I just want it
no.
to be really simple.
Some photographs.
We'll teach them, not to worry.
Oh dear.
All right, I think we've covered everything. If there's nothing else, I move to adjourn.
Happy Halloween. I
Yeah.
second.
It's been canceled this year.
Is that right?
Says who? Says who?
All right, guys, have a good night. Happy
All right.
Halloween.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.